Gary, it's great to have you back on InvestorStream. With the release of the Borba update and prospective resource report, there's a lot of great info in here. Can you just take us through what highlights stand out for yourself in this report?
Yes, thanks, Alex, for the opportunity. There is a lot of information in there, and a lot of very prescriptive information as required by the ASX listing rules. But the key takeaways from this report are that, one, we asked ERCE to give us a prospective resource for the Borba 1-7 well area. This resource addresses the well we're about to drill and the reservoirs that we expect to encounter on the way down. And they've assessed that there are 11 reservoirs potentially on the way down. Our internal assessments, we've got up to 15 if I count fractured basement, which we encountered at Dempsey as a potential reservoir. So outside of the Borba 1-7 area, there are other prospects. There are a lot more anomalism spread to the north and south. There are entirely separate areas of anomalies and separate areas of what we think are channel fill sequences on the Borba AMI and surrounding the adjacent to and surrounding the Borba prospect. The key takeaway in the wrap-up of the risk on this report from ERCE is, a 70% chance of success of finding a sand full of gas here. That's a high chance of success. Not unexpected when they're evaluating 11 prospective reservoirs. But it just says that we have a very high chance in drilling the Borba 1-7 well that we're going to find gas. And as we all know, we've got good gas prices, premium gas prices in Western the USA and in California in particular. And we're close to infrastructure. So our economic threshold for gas to hook it up to the system is very, very low. So any gas that we find, we would expect there's a high probability, 100% probability almost, of connecting it up. So I think that's probably is a couple of key takeaways from this resource report.
Okay, Gary. So a lot's been made of the Borba 1-7 well being a play opener to a potential multi-TCF play or trend. How will success at Borba tell you the broader trend is potentially a multi-TCF play?
Alex, we've released in the past to the ASX good oil conferences, presentations, etc., and showing that we've used what the industry knows as discovery thinking. Discovery thinking is looking at old data and finding new potential resources and then getting out there and drilling them. We've got a sequence of rocks here, 5,000 feet of rocks that were gas saturated at Dempsey. Yes, Dempsey didn't have the sweet spot reservoirs that we wanted, but in looking at Dempsey after the fact, we saw a channel sequence that I've not seen mentioned in any of the past literature or referred to at all by anyone exploring the basin in the past. And we've mapped that out because we have the 3D coverage to be able to do that. And that is probably the strongest lead that into this prospect. And when we mapped it out, we found that it missed our Dempsey location, but it is present on our Dempsey AMI. But it sort of all came together, the geology of the channel system and the known, well-documented shedding of sediments from the Sierra Nevadas to the east. There's something about the Borba area that makes it the place to drill. And what are those somethings about? One is the seismic is incredibly anomalous. There's nowhere else on 3D seismic in this basin that we've seen this amount of amplitude responses in a stacked vertical place in one limited, well, small area. Not limited. It's a pretty big area. Small area on the seismic, and there is a logical geological history that explains why that could be and should be, and then explains those anomalies, and that's what we're going to test, and that's why we're drilling this well a little bit deviated so that we can hit as all of these 11 anomalies that ERCE have evaluated, all of the other ones that we've see in between, and get a good handle on it. And if it works, particularly if it works at the channel interval in the Cretaceous. We've got the whole trend running to the north in the Dempsey AMI, even out to the west, and we see these rocks as reservoirs and potential reservoirs in the coastal range outcrops. So I think it's all come together for this well, and it is so exciting to be able to drill this well, despite COVID and despite our frustrations over the last couple of years of in trying to get all of the acreage together that we wanted before we drilled this well.
So, as you mentioned, you've said that Sacgasco will be turning to the right this week, and I think I speak for many people when I say we'll all be printing out the 3D seismic section, and all going to plan. It could be a 30-day campaign. Can you talk us through the first week of operations, and when can we expect the next update?
I expect, Alex, that we will get an update out on the actual spud of the well below the surface conductor. We've already drilled the surface conductor and cased it. So the rig is setting up over the top of that right at the moment, and we will drill once the rig's ready. We'll drill out of that. It's a long weekend in the US at the moment right now, so the guys have had the weekend off, but they'll finish the mobilization this week, and I expect we'll be turning to the right by the end of the week, and we'll announce that. We then drill down to around 1,800 feet. And place another string of casing in at that point, and that's to protect the aquifers underlying the Sacramento River, and in the old Sacramento River beds, which were out in the Sacramento River plains, and that'll be cemented in place. That may be a 4 or 5 day to do that. Couple of days drilling, couple of days to cement the casing in place, and then we'll drill out, and that's when it becomes interesting. We could find some interesting zones above that casing, but more than likely the best prospectivity is deeper. And a couple of days after that, or a few days after that, we will be down at the reservoir level for the offset West Ord Bend field, and the reservoir's there, and we have separate seismic anomalies here, so we're looking for virgin reservoir conditions there. And we'll drill on down to around 6,000 feet and hopefully through the Gwynder level to test that before we set the next string of casing. We can't predict exactly where the casing strings will go. We react, and our drillers react and respond to pressure and gas, and we make sure that we set the casing in the place that makes it safest for protecting what we already have, and makes it safe to drill on in the high pressure environment that's between that 6,000 and almost 10,000 feet where the TD occurs. So I expect, just like at Dempsey, we will release information when we've got market-sensitive information, which will be shows and then obviously logs at the casing points. So I expect to see, a fair bit of attention on that seismic section as we go on down, and a fair bit of news flow on behalf of ourselves and our partner Xstate over the next month.
And Gary, before I let you go, is there anything that you want to emphasise from this report ahead of drilling?
Yes, Alex. I think it's very important to recognise how important these wells are when we are drilling into these older, unexplored parts of the Sacramento Basin. They're not old; they're young rocks compared to the Sacramento Basin's younger brother, the Perth Basin. But they're rocks that are underexplored. Our mapping is mapped 4 different play types, on what we know from just the Dempsey well, because the Dempsey well is the only deep well, deep well that's drilled deeper into these older sections in the trend area that we're dealing with. And working off that, we've mapped up 4 different plays. There probably are a bunch more, and coming out of the results of this well, each zone that has a reservoir and has gas will lead to many more opportunities. We can skid the rig over and drill another well from this location to get gas flowing earlier as well. We're only a few miles from our Dempsey meter station, so we can connect it up quickly. So this is an opener, play opener, as we say, to the multi-TCF plays and potential that we talked about and have continuously gone on about ad infinitum to our shareholders. And that's why it's exciting to be drilling the Borba 1 in the coming week.
Thanks, Gary. I think I speak for many of those investors when I say that we can't wait to see how this drilling program progresses. Thanks for joining me, and all the best with the Borba operations.
Okay. Thanks, Alex. I appreciate it.